Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about infinite limits. So, we used to see the limits that we approach a, and when we approach this function, we get an L which belongs to the set of R, but we will see that it does not have to approach to L all the time. It can approach to infinity or negative infinity 2 sometimes. In this video, we're going to talk about these. So, graph of 1 over x is given to us, and the question is asking us limit of 1 over x as x approaches to 0. Since when we try to plug in, we get 1 over 0, which is undefined, we will have to check the limit from the left and the right to see that if this limit exists or not. So let's approach it from the left, and when I approach it from the left, I'm seeing that I'm getting closer to negative infinity because I'm seeing that my y values is getting closer to negative infinity. The more I go, the more I get closer to 0 from the left. Therefore, I'm going to say limit of 1 over x as x approaches to 0 from the left side is going to be minus infinity. Now we're approaching we are approaching the function as x approaches to 0 from the right side. So I'm approaching it from the right side this time, and I'm seeing my function is getting closer to infinity this time from the right side. Therefore, this means when I approach it from the right side, my function is infinity. And since these are not equal, we will say that this limit does not exist, which is D and E. So, what can we say about infinite limits then? So, we will say two things which are really similar to each other. If limit of fx as x approaches to a from the left side and right side, if these limits are both infinity, we will say that the limit of fx as x approaches to a is equal to infinity. We used to say this when it was an L value in set of R, but now we're doing the same thing for infinity. If limit of fx as x approaches to a from the left and right, if negative infinity this time, our conclusion will be limit of fx as x approaches to a is going to be negative infinity. So now we have the function ln x, and the question is asking us limit of fx as x approaches to 0. Of course, we will check the limit from the left and from the right to understand if this exists or what is it equal to. So, when I approach it from the left side to 0, I'm seeing that the function is not defined here. Therefore, I'm gonna say this limit does not exist. The limit of fx as x approaches to 0 from the left is not in our domain, so therefore I'm gonna say this limit does not exist. And limit of fx as x approaches to 0 from the right side this time, we will be approaching it from the right side this time, and I'm gonna see that it's going to negative infinity. Therefore, I'm gonna say this limit does not exist because when I approach 0 from left and right, I don't get the same values. So now we have a graph of a function, and there are some limits that we need to evaluate by the graph. So limit of fx as x approaches to negative 2 from the left side. Okay, here is our negative 2, and when I approach it from the left side, I'm clearly seeing that the function is going to negative infinity. Let's try to change your color maybe. Okay, the limit of fx as x approaches to negative 2 from the right side this time. We know where negative 2 is, and when I approach it from the right side, I'm clearly seeing that it is going to infinity this time. I just need to check the behavior of the function. The limit of fx as x approaches to a from the left side. Here is my 8. I'm approaching it from the left side. I'm clearly seeing that the function is going to infinity the more I approach it from the left side. And lastly, limit of fx as x approaches to 2. To say something about this, of course, we need to check the limit from left and right, so therefore we can say something about it. From left and right. So now I'm approaching it from the, let's approach it from the left first. I'm seeing that when I approach it from the left, I'm getting 2. And when I, oops, that's, I get 2 when I approach it from the left side. And when I approach it from the right side, from here, yeah, yellow was not a good choice. When I approach it from the right side, I'm seeing that the function is getting closer to 4. Therefore, since the limit of when I approach it from left and right are not the same, we're going to say that this limit does not exist.